Ladies and gentlemen, we are recording.
Welcome, 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 everybody, to Man in the Middle. Thank you so much for being here with us. I am your moderator, Veracity Savant. I'm very happy. We're going to get started. We want to make sure that we're just honoring everybody's time and, really have this conversation. Of course, thank you so much to Ab for just creating the space for all of us. Really, I just want to make sure everybody's giving each other time to speak. Don't talk over each other. Just make your points clearly, all of the things. Um, all right. I think we're going to start with an icebreaker. Um, Introduce yourselves first and tell me what is your greatest hope and like biggest concern for your son?
That's a good one. Take a second to think about
Yeah,
that.
we just jumping off the porch.
Right. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
The greatest hope and your biggest concern.
I'll go.
Oh, go ahead, Brittany.
Okay. I'll go. I'm Brittany. I'm a mom of two boys, 11 and 7 months. So I have a big gap. I'm on kind of both ends of the fence right now, like going into those preteen years, but also starting over. Um, Honestly, in today's time, my biggest hope is just for them to live a long life, an adult life. Like I want to see them reach adulthood and be successful. Um, you know, so many fears in the world that we live in. And my greatest fear is just me, the worst happening and me not being there. Like whatever that looks like, from him going to school, with my oldest going to school every morning, us parting ways, to just being outside playing. Like he's an outside kid. We just read an article about a little boy being killed playing ding dong ditch. So just those things, it's a crazy space. And him and I have a lot of conversations about these things because I just want him to understand that it's not me overbearing. It's just concern because the world is so different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's valid. What about you, Jess?
So I'm Jessica. My son is 10 years old. And along the same lines of Brittany, I want him to have like strongest discernment possible. Like that is like my biggest hope so that he can make the right choices. Because that's a big thing for us right now in school in the fifth grade is him making the right choices and not being influenced by his peers. That's the biggest one for me is the choice, the decision making, and helping him process that to ensure that I'm not putting my, choices and all of that stuff on him. And like, it's his choice. He wants to do this. He feels strongly about it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think both super valid. Well, I want to give Ab just the space to like talk about why we're here, the topics, like just get into it. Ab, kind of lay the groundwork.
So, I'm gonna give you a brief introduction of where the idea came from, a little bit about my history, and why this concept or this group of this demographic kind of has my heart, right? So, when I was 11, 12 years old, my parents divorced. My father moved to Africa, right? I saw him. He came back a year later to visit, and then I didn't see him for 17 years after that. So at that point, I was in middle school, and I was trying to figure it out, right? So like you trying to, in the moment, it didn't feel like much. Like it didn't feel like the end of the world. Probably because I was, I don't know, probably I think society kind of numbs you to like loss, right? So like I didn't in the moment it didn't feel like much. I was bred to act like even if you did feel it to act like you didn't,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my father was like my hero as a kid, right? And that still didn't trigger any like feeling of like pain. I didn't feel the pain. It didn't feel heavy. It felt like a change and a shift, but it wasn't like, damn, that's the end of the world. I was upset, right? I was mad, but I didn't know how to direct my anger. I didn't talk to anybody about it. Nobody talked to me about it. So I was just kind of like living in like, what the hell is going on around me, but I couldn't express it. And my folks are African, so there's no really nowhere for you to express that, right? It's just like we're moving on. Like this really have time for you. My mother's not like a super outwardly emotional person, and she called herself trying to protect me by sheltering us, by being quiet, by crying in her car, or so like I didn't see that. So to me, it's almost like, wait, nobody else is reacting. It must not be.
Why am I making a big deal? Yeah.
Must not be nothing there. Like nobody else is reacting to this. This shit must be fucking normal. So I moved on throughout my life like it was normal. Like my older brother, who was only 2 years older than me, he became like a father figure to me. He didn't accept that role though, right? But I looked to him to kind of like guide me. But he was going through his own situation. He had his whole different, struggle that he was dealing with. So like I became a bit rebellious, right? Like I was always a smart kid, so I always felt like I could like outsmart everybody. That was my biggest like issue. I always felt like I was smarter than everybody else, and I could think my way out of any situation. So I became like, I didn't notice it until adulthood, but male authority figures became an issue for me. Right? Like I didn't know how to react to male authority figures. Like any male around me, it's like, oh, who are you telling me like? Right. I'm used to women telling me what to do, right? And I had the utmost respect for women, but for men, it was kind of like, oh, like, who is this? Like, who is this guy? Like, it was like that. So with teachers, with coaches, it was always like that type of like, you know what I mean? And I felt like that environment, like that upbringing, the way that I was like kind of pushed forward, and then I grew like a disdain for my father. Right, like he never had a conversation with me, so I grew a disdain for him. Right, like he's in a whole nother continent trying to communicate with me, and I was ducking his calls for months at a time, 6, 7 months, 8 months, a year. Like I don't really got nothing to talk about. Like I'm living my life here. We need you, and you doing whatever you're doing. Right, so like, was stuck to him. So like even if he was making an attempt, I wasn't open to the attempt. Like I wasn't open to it. So like I grew like a bitterness like towards him and towards like older men in general. So like I feel like that manifested itself in I became like super sensitive to the issues of women, right? Because I watched my mother. So like I had a soft spot for women. And I feel like men in my position, you go one of two ways, right? You either have a soft spot for women, or you just hold up, like you know what I mean? Like you go one of two ways. I went that way, right? So it was hard for me it was easy for me to be friends with women, right? It was very easy for me to be friends with women platonically. Like that was a simple thing for me.
We agree.
Yeah.
That was all of our friends.
It wasn't an issue for me. It was easy. It just felt like because I looked at women like people, like just normal human beings. And like most boys who just be around boys all day, women are like alien to them. So they don't look at women as human beings. So when they get that's why when young men get their heart broken, it's like, oh shit, like I thought this was like a princess, like a foreign object that wasn't supposed to do no wrong. So when I get wronged by one, it's like you open your eye. But like I saw flaws. Like I saw my mother as a human being. Like she wasn't always perfect. She wasn't always right, but she was. I got to see that. So anyway, fast forward, right? Like my first serious relationship was with a woman who had her son. Right, I took that relationship super serious.
Very serious.
You know what I mean? Like that was like a super serious thing for me. And even at a time where my friends was like, "Bro, what are you doing? Bro? You ain't got to do that," or like, "You're doing too much."
Ab was the first stepdaddy in the group.
Yeah, like, I was all the way invested, and to the point where like I still have a very close relationship with him. Right, and he's 17 right now. So like I met him when he was 4 years old.
Wow.
So like we have a very close relationship even up until this day. So like, and it was even funnier because the same time I was in that relationship, my brother was in a relationship with a woman who had a son.
Right.
Same time, right? I don't think that was a coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a
Right.
coincidence.
Wow.
But that's where like my soft spot for like young men came. Like when I felt like, damn, like I wish I had the guidance that I'm giving this young man. Right? Like I almost started to feel a little jealous that like I was there for him, but nobody stepped in to like do these things for me. So like that was kind of like a bit of my motivation in that process. Not consciously, right? But like that was a little bit of my motivation when I look back, like, damn, like I need to be here to do these things and
Right.
set him on the right path because nobody did that for me. And I'm still recovering. As a grown man sitting right here, 37 years old, still recovering from like the holes that my father left when he left. Right? So like that's where the motivation for me came. Then I started doing like research, like actual research. Like, okay, like I'm seeing like these young girls, like young women are exceeding, you know, in different areas, and the dudes are like crumbling, like falling by the wayside. And it'd be like, and then when I started teaching, I'm seeing it in real life. Like I'm it's in my face. I'm seeing like I taught your sister, she was a 4.0 student. Now you in my class, you can't hardly stay awake.
Right.
I'm from the same house. Like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like those kind of things kind of be like, oh, they need help because they don't even know that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like they don't know that they're wrong. And also there's a situation where like they don't see men. Like a lot of these young boys, they don't see any men around. Right? There's no man at home. He live with mom, with aunt, with grandma. Right? You don't see. He come to school. He don't have no male teachers. Right? So he go the whole day, don't see no men. He only see men when he in trouble. When he got to go to the courthouse or he get locked up. That's the first time he see men. And do you expect him to respect men? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. He don't see that. He don't see the
Yeah.
need to.
I have lots of thoughts about what you're saying, but I think that brings us to today's topic, which is how understanding how boys really think, right? And I think we all have very unique perspectives. Even what Ab was saying, I've been friends with Ab since we were in middle school, and I'm like, what? He left? Like I ain't know nothing, okay? Because Ab was always very social. He was very outgoing. So I think, you know, again, that just speaks to what he was saying in terms of like masking. And I do think there are two ways that men go. They either blame the mother for being the parent who stayed, and that shows up later in life, or they have a very, very sensitive, you know, or sensitivity or empathy for women. And I think Ab falls in that latter category. So yeah, I just really, 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 of course, I have a child. For those of you watching here, I am an empty nester officially. I have one child. Very excited. I'm not coping well, but we'll talk about that later on another episode. But yeah, I think that a lot of the things you're saying, I had very clear ideas about that going into motherhood. Like my pregnancy was very unexpected, but once I committed, I was locked in. I was just like, this what we doing. Let's get our head in the game. You know what I'm saying? And I think that what helped me, and I can talk about this more in depth, but I really want to get into just you all's personal stories and your journey to motherhood. But I feel like what really helped me was I knew great men. I had great male friends.
Yes.
I had a daddy. Like I used to always tell men, even when I was dating, like I got a father. Okay, so them games you running on them women who ain't got no daddies. Like I have a very active father. Everybody know my daddy. And I had brothers. I had, you know, just really, really, really solid men in my life. So I knew what I wanted my son to model and what I didn't want him to model. And even though I was going into motherhood as a single mama, I didn't create a space for there to be any lack. So I had buttoned up all of my feelings about the relationship before he even came out the womb. It was done.
That's key.
I had buttoned all of that up, put that to the side, and I just was committed to not even addressing it.
Yep.
until it was time. I was like,
he was all in. Like, listen, all that you talking over there, you can keep it.
There are
this is my
people to
focus.
this day, they still don't know who my baby daddy is. And I like to keep it like that. Okay. It doesn't matter.
Right.
He wasn't there. It doesn't
That
matter.
part.
You know, I was very grateful for, you know, my ex. We were together for a very long time. Even when we were separated, like he stepped in, he stepped up. So like I had a very wonderful journey that was kind of divine in that way. But my son having men in his life, good men, not them YNs that you gotta be very careful about that. And he had, you know, kind of an array of men to choose from. You know, my dad is very different than my brothers. Even my two younger brothers are very different. I had a bunch of male friends. They're all different. They work in different sectors. So, you know, he kind of had his like pick of like what to be, how to go, how to show up. And I was one of those mothers that was like, yeah, take them to the game with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
y'all come over, holler at him. So, you know, I think that was really, really good. But I just want to talk to Britt and Jess for a minute and just kind of hear like your stories, your journey to motherhood. Y'all are at very critical ages. Even when you were talking, like, I got a 10-year-old, and Britt was like, first of all, this 7-month-old Britt, I got to come see the babies. I feel like I'm missing out. But, you know, one of the things that I learned, and I don't know if you all are feeling this now, 7 is not 9. 9 is not 11. 11 is definitely not 13. It changes very, very quickly with boys specifically. And, you know, I believe that good parenting is in the pivot. So talk to me a little bit about that, like how you all, you know, came into this thing called, you know, the boy moms.
Well, first of all, the first 6 months of 11 is not the same as the last 6 months of 11. So let's just talk about that same period. So, but Ab, I do have a question for you because I too have known Ab since middle school. Was art your outlet? Because when I tell y'all, Ab is, you can have him ask him to draw anything, or he knew you liked something, you were getting a picture, a poster, a t-shirt, whatever it was. So was that like an outlet for you at that time?
I don't know if it was an outlet necessarily. Like, I don't think I looked at it like that. I just looked at it like that was something I was confident in, and I needed as many things that I could be confident in, so I could, like, you know, when you're young and you trying to figure out like who are you in this thing. Right? Like, once I figured out the things that I was good at, I wanted to do those all the time. So there was like a praise thing that I think it was like a praise thing that I was looking for. Like I said, my mother wasn't like super emotionally, like she wasn't outwardly emotional. Right. And my dad wasn't there. So like I needed that praise from somewhere. So like anything I was good at, I would do all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Okay.
Really and I was making a little bit of money.
What are
you
y'all
like making money? Look, we weren't the paying friends. I'm sorry.
I know, but Ab was hustling.
He
like
was.
even when we went to high school, we were at different high schools. But I would go over to Roosevelt, and they'd be like, you know, Ab got a little store, and I'm like,
snacks
out of his locker. I was just like, that's crazy. Yeah. So just tell me you all's thoughts. Like, what do you think is the difference in how boys think versus girls?
Jess, you want to go first? I went first the last time, so let's
anybody.
I mean, I think that's part of like the thing that I'm trying to figure out now, which is what drew me to the conversation is how does my son think? Because again, I don't have any brothers. I did not grow up with a father in the house. My mother raised me. My sisters raised me. So everything that I learned about men, it was through dating. Right. Like, so now that I have a son, again, I don't know how he thinks. And so, like you were saying, like when somebody like corrects him or if somebody wants to, you know, take him to guide him in the right, I'm like, take him, you know, show him what to do. And I think that's where my biggest hiccup is. How is he thinking? How is he processing? And I'll share a story. So he plays these games on the PS5 and Roblox and all that stuff. And so these kids are savage. Like these kids are disrespectful. Like I was telling him one day to get off the game. And so I was like, tell your mom to shut the fuck up. And I'm like,
It's the gaming
Wow.
world. Yeah, they be
Yeah.
going hard. Mhm.
And so he befriended this kid, and him and this kid, they play together all the time. And so this kid starts to kind of like bully my son a little bit. Like he'll kind of like say like, mean stuff, or, if he messes up on the game, he's like, oh my God, like, how could you miss? Like, and so my son is an empath. And so he immediately starts to like, get into his feelings, starts to cry a little bit. And so I'm like, I go in there and I'm like, if you don't stand up for yourself and you don't tell him like that, I'm doing all of that. And I'm telling him what to say. And in his face and in his body, you can see him like, I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I say that, I'm going against my core. Right. And so in that moment, I'm like, what should I do? Do I, stop telling him how to handle his situation, or do I kind of just coach him and just say, like, well, how do you feel? How do you think that you should address this? And that plays out at school and at the playground, on PS5, like all those things, because it's like, I want to jump in and say, tell his ass to stop talking to you like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what you're supposed to say. And in his core, that's not him. That's not my son. And he does not, you can feel his rejection every time I tell him to say that. And so I don't want him in the long run to be like, my mother was mean, or, I don't know. So I say all that to say like that I am struggling with finding out how my son thinks and how to pull back the layer to find out how he thinks.
I want to give the men an opportunity to speak, but just hearing you talk, I'll never forget. I think my son Khalil was maybe like 7. He was playing basketball and he had the ball and he was going to the hoop and we was cheering, and this little boy fell and he stopped and picked him up. I almost died. I'm like, go, run over him, like, keep going. And I'll never forget, he ended up being his football coach, but he was another parent at the time. And he was like, you cannot teach aggression. Like, you can't teach aggression in boys.
Yeah.
Like, they either got it or they don't. Yeah, so I've been there. But yeah, Ab, Chad, thoughts?
And I want to talk about aggression too. If we can like remember that too. I would love to talk about aggression.
Yeah.
Oh, how y'all doing, audience? Again, I'm Chaz. I'm a father of 2, real quickly, and I did myself grow up single mom. But I want to touch on, y'all both said something. I know Ab spoke on about the art and that confidence piece, and then you spoke on just about how the boys think. And I find it interesting because I think subconsciously as we grow up, we are looking for something that makes us confidence, some type of reassurance. And subconsciously, we're looking for our purpose, right? So that rebellion and that we go through is our spirit trying to find what our purpose and gifts are. And if we can't get a grasp of that, we don't know how to articulate it. We act out, or we get quiet, we go into a shell and things of that nature. And my oldest son, he's 7, he's the sensitive one, right? So it's different. Sometimes you just kind of want to go in like, hey, get it, like this. But I find the best way to reach him sometimes is to just coach, right? So you let the situation play out. And then when the situation is done, you just sit down and have a general conversation with him and just kind of try to figure out where his headspace is at. Like, this is what you're thinking, and this, okay, you're thinking this way, try this way in your way. Because he's confident, right? That, the sensitivity don't mean he's soft. It just means, he don't want to belittle, or he just has very high self-awareness of, or sensitive for the situation around him. So we just kind of got to figure out how to steer him to do it in a not dumbed down way, but dumb it down because they're highly intelligent. Hearing you, I can tell your son's probably highly intelligent, right? And so responding to, rude children and things of that nature, he'll go over their head with his responses sometimes. So we got to figure out how to coach him in the way to respond in a confident way and a fearless way. And I just agreed with what you said though. And again, Ab, that's the key with us as boys, man. Just trying to figure out how do we exercise that appetite of that we have of who we are. So that aggression may not be in a physical way, but that aggression may turn up in a way that if we find what we love to do or what we're great at, we'll be aggressive and focus at that, and then you can't tell us nothing. So I just want to chime in on that.
Yes, you make a very valid point, and I'll jump in there because so I'm not the gentle parent, far from it. My child, neither one of them are, they hear mommy's mouth.
Right.
Mommy don't say all the right words all the time.
Not you running your house like Major Payne, Britt.
So I mean, my kids, they know. So to the point, I'll start with to the point of finding that passion and using the aggression there. On the basketball court, my son is all in. You go wrong on him, it's a whole it's like, okay, I'm praying on the sideline, like, Lord, please don't let this boy, so, but if he's outside playing with his friends in the neighborhood or something like that, and there's an altercation, like he'll back down, or to Jess's point, the kids say the wrong thing, I'm ready to jump in. He like, Mom, just chill. That's his favorite word, just chill. I'm like, don't tell me to chill. So
it's embarrassing. It's like a moment of embarrassment to them. They're just like,
yeah. So it's just, so I guess for me, I see me in him. His dad and I haven't been together since his first, we split around his first birthday. So he's never really experienced that father figure in the household. And dating, I'm very protective of my children. So with my oldest, I was very protective of him. And then when I finally let somebody in, here comes this little one. So it was just, that situation. But I try not to be the perfectionist, but I know in the background, sometimes I'm that perfectionist mom, and I'm pushing him to do things because, I'm hard on myself when it comes to failure. And I find myself being hard on him, but I have to remind myself, like, kids aren't perfect. Take a step back and ask some questions. So what I've learned is that in therapy for myself, like my therapist used to tell me, or he'll tell me, don't yell at him. If he doesn't do it, just let him reap the consequences later, and he'll learn from his consequences. So as he's getting older, like, I'm learning to kind of chill and take a step back and, let him drive and navigate. And I keep telling him, my dad used to tell me all the time growing up, like, life is about choices and consequences. Your choices are going to reap some type of consequence, whether good or bad. Mm-hmm. So I try to instill that in my oldest now. And, they don't have a father figure in the household, but my dad and my brother, where Ad was saying he had no respect for men in authority, my son's the complete opposite. He looks to women for nurture, like everybody except for his mother, because I'm the one that's like, nigga, get up, like, what you crying for? Like, and that's just me. I'm so used to boys. I have a brother, I have 2 godsons, so I'm like, what you crying for? Get up and keep moving. So
that's how my mom was.
Yeah, so I'm not that, I'm not that soft mom, but my mom, my grandmother, it's okay. And they so now that he's at a point where he kind of flipped the tables on us, and sometimes he wants to buff up, and I'm like, it comes from that nurturing. He knows he has an outlet and an audience. But on the flip side, his coaches, he goes to an all-boys school where the staff, I'll say it's probably maybe a 50-50 when it comes to male and female. So he has his principal and vice principal are males. So he has that whole, they teach them, they have to wear a belt to school every day. Your shirt has to be tucked in. You have to wear dress shoes, like preparing them for what the real world kind of looks like. So he has that respect of authoritative men. And he, fortunately enough, he doesn't see it as your authority, you're overbearing with your authority. Like it's a respecting as, instead. So he's really good with that. It's just sometimes as far as him thinking, it's like, I'm saying things to you and I hear myself, I'm repeating myself over and over. Are you like, what's up? What's up with you? Why you not getting it in the house? But then I'll get phone calls. Carter's great and he's this. Like, I had his friend's dad call me the other day and he was like, you're doing an amazing job raising him. You know, my child was going through something and apparently he talked to Carter, and now, you know, what I couldn't get through to him, apparently Carter got it through, and he's in this great space now. And I told him, I was like, you know, I need that. Thank you for calling me, because as a mom doing it all on my own, I need that reassurance.
It's no handbook.
Yeah.
You never know if you're doing it absolutely right. And sometimes people telling you gives the affirmation, like from the outside looking in. But children are also very different in the house than they are outside. So it's like, okay, at least you got some sense when you go
outside the house.
Even if, I had an elder one time tell me that boys only remember the first and last thing you tell them. So don't give them 18 different things to do.
Yeah.
Just
and that's things. My son had the heat on 78 the other day, and I told him 68, and I'm wondering why we are in here burning up, because I just told him to do 1,000 things. And
But my son will say that to me. He'll be like, Mom, stop telling me to do so many things. Like, give me a chance to get the first thing and then tell me what's next. So I get that.
We very black and white, you know.
I think boys teach you to slow down. And I think even if you are, there's certain things that I learned through raising a boy. I would see things that men had told me over the years in my son. Like, oh, this is just a boy thing. Like they are really not going to spend a lot of time in their emotions. Like my son is very like solution oriented. Like, okay, you're mad, but like, what's the, like, let's move on. But that taught me like, okay, I need to stop, belaboring the issue. Because it wasn't just, I think you hear it differently when it's from your child versus a person you're dating. If a man be like, you just always emotional, you're like, you don't understand because you da 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 da. But when you hear it from your child, you're like, oh, this is like a balance thing, right? Like men and women are created in balance. And it doesn't matter if it's your child or your brother or your father or there's still going to be a balance in that space if they are well. Some of these niggas is not well. Okay. So we're not talking about them.
Let's call it
well whole people. Okay.
Yeah.
Not this world. Yeah. Adam, do you have anything to add? And then I know you wanted to play a clip.
I'll play the clip in a second. So I feel like, and my mother did this, right? Like she would give me mad instructions at one time. I used to I don't even want to remember all of this. Like I'm like a linear person. Like give me one at a time. I like to get things done though. Right. Even to this day, everything I do is checklisted. Like it has to be written down and I have to checklist it. Grocery store, whether I'm doing things at work, I got a checklist for everything. Right. So like when you give me 1,000 things at once, at this point, I know myself well enough to be like, hey, that's not going to get done. Like it's not. So like that's one, right? The other thing is my mother used to try to prevent things so much from happening to me that she halted my ability to make decisions on my own.
Yeah.
Right? Like
a lot of mothers parent out of fear.
She was trying to protect me from everything up until the point where like we used to bump heads because of that. It's like, yo, you can't.
That's a real
thing. Like I knew that as a young man. I'm like, yo, you're doing too much. Like I appreciate you making it easy for me, but like when I go outside and I'm with the guys, I can't. The confidence isn't there because they had to do it, right? And I didn't have to do it. You did it for me, so now I don't even have a chance to learn how to do it. So I'm not as confident as some of my peers because they had to figure it out, and you just did the shit. I'm just like, all right, well.
I was the complete opposite with my child. At 5 years old, he bungee jumped. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. I was just like, I was very clear that if he doesn't learn to be independent, even simple things like walking to the bus stop by himself.
Right.
Third grade, he was walking to the bus stop by himself. Now I was in the car. Okay.
Yeah.
I was following.
But
But but I let him be independent as he grew into those things.
Yeah.
But
And I
even
will
That's key,
always tell
yeah.
him that, like, you're going to learn one day.
yeah,
And when that one day comes, and he would use it against me as he got older. Like you said, I'm going to learn one day. So today is the day that I'm going to,
and you're the one actually learning.
Right.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
but to that point too, like for me, at probably between 8 and 9, order your own food. We're at the restaurant, you learn to speak, you learn to speak up, you learn to order what you want, you ask questions if you don't understand something. So my son is really good with that, and I'm thankful that that, because I'm like, you need to have a voice. Mommy can't be your voice forever.
yeah.
I started at that same age, 8 or 9.
That's key. Being with boys, you got to be really intentional, and daughters, but with boys, you have to be really intentional with them. So that's good that y'all did that, because knowing the end game and how life plays out. So if by nature, boys want to be independent, boys want to be respected, boys, things of that nature, then what do we do to set things in place to where 5-10 years down the line, we did the groundwork, we planted that seed to where, they fulfill that, So it's about being very intentional and like actually being selfless. It sounds like, all y'all moms are really selfless, and that's the biggest key to raising boys. Because again, we're black and white, so we look at things very logically, right? So we look at things. What she's saying, is it making sense? 1 + 1, is it adding up? And if it does, then we have the utmost respect for it, because you let us, walk into our manhood, so to speak. So that selflessness is very key.
One last thing, right? To piggyback on what Chaz was saying, I feel like sometimes, like, moms who are doing it by themselves, they have to like wrestle between like emotion and logic, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not a fair position to be in, right? It's not a fair position to be in, but unfortunately, that's the position, what I'm saying, that's bestowed upon you, right? Like, you have to be, you have to toe the line between, like, am I doing too much? Like, my mother was, like, you could tell she was trying to suppress emotional choices, right? She didn't want us to see her super emotional, but you could tell once it got to a certain point, it all spilled out. It was just like, oh, okay.
Spaz out,
yeah. It's there. You just be trying to hide it. Got it. You know what I'm saying? And that like made us look at her like, okay, she's still human, right? Like, right. She's still like, because she tried her hardest to like hide a lot of stuff, you know what I mean, that she was dealing with like behind the scenes, because she didn't want us to harbor that pressure, or to feel like we got to do something in order to make up for shortcomings and this and that. So she tried to hide all of it. All right, but let's jump into this video real quick, Chad.
In order to best facilitate, what we don't want to do is send a message to our boys that being a man or a boy is a bad thing, because I think that's really a sort of a passive and sometimes blatant message that we're getting in the culture. And so I think that when it comes to educating boys, we really need to take a step back and look at how they're wired, in order to best facilitate an environment that allows them to thrive. And I'm telling you, when they have that, these boys rock it. At first, in the very beginning, they're typically they're a little ways behind, up to 2 years behind girls when it comes to like being ready to read and write and all that. And that immediately
I've seen this in my own little small scale study. Yeah.
Yes, it freaks everybody out. And it's like, you guys, these kids are not robots. They are people. And specifically, these boys were made to be outside. They were made to have lots of physical activity. This is part of the wonder of who they are and how they learn at this point in the game. It's not that we can't make an effort, when they show some interest, to sit down and try to teach them how to read or whatever, but to expect them to sit for long periods of time is just completely, it just flies in the face of who God made them. And so if we can learn to take that energy and and direct it, put it in a good direction, it makes so much difference. What we don't want to do.
All right. So one takeaway I had from that video, right, is that for one, boys are not girls, right? And I know that sounds very basic and that sounds simple, but like I think a lot of mothers, they don't grasp that concept, right? That like he's not you, right? Like he's not socialized to be like you, right? The world is around him is not going to treat him the way that you were treated. So like it's a completely different experience. Like the male experience is not close to what the female experience is like, right? For a lot of different reasons. Okay, so like that's something that we gotta be conscious of. Like I see it, like the classroom is like my greatest experiment, right? So like I see that like if we're doing independent work or whatever, and it's going on 5 minutes, you'll start to see the boys get up. They're looking for a reason to get up, right? The girls don't move for 50 minutes, but the boy, they itching to touch stuff, to talk, to go run up, like to go move. They want to move, like they are not wired the same, right? And I think a lot of times in environments that we put them in, they're almost like demonized, like who they are is wrong. You know what I mean? Like you're wrong because you don't do it how girls do it, right? Like girls do it this way, and you're a boy, you don't do it this way, so you're wrong. It's like, what do you expect? That doesn't surprise me why, like, you know, a few months ago they had a conversation on social media about boys not going to college and all of those type of things. And it's kind of like, think about the experience that some of these boys have in school. Like, it's not a fun experience. So like to be like, yo, go continue that for 4 more years.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, bro,
That's what I'm experiencing right now. Like that's literally tonight in the car after picking him up from martial arts. He literally said, "I do not want to go back to school because," we're in the second week, and that clip is a fairy tale. Let me just say that clip is a fairy tale. Did I freeze? Oh, there it is. That clip is a fairy tale because the schools are not built that way. The schools are not allowing the kid to be creative. They're not allowing the kid to be expressive. Nothing. You are to sit down. And so, yes, it would be wonderful if the teachers took that advice that the woman in the clip was saying, because my son struggles with ADHD, right? And so, like you said, like in behavioral, emotional regulation is what we are naming it. And so I just got a call today that he was in the chair, he's leaning back in the chair, and then he falls and he hits his head, right? And then he gets back up. That's the first thing, right? So we distract the whole class. And then now that he's back in his chair, he's sitting upright, he wants to play with his water bottle, and now he didn't spill all his water on himself. And so now he has to get up and go to the sink because he needs a paper towel. And now he's at the sink. He didn't knock the fixture off because he's playing with the fixture, right? And all of this to avoid doing the work or just sitting still. But he is not able to. He physically cannot sit for 7.5 hours and do instruction. And that's the issue that I'm having, on top of him going to a school that is 85% white. Like so everything that he does is just like, I can't believe it. And so it's that. He literally said it today. I do not want to go back to school because I'm just going to get in trouble.
So Chaz and
I had a question, but she raised an interesting point, right? So the father of what they call Western education, his name was Robert Kohler, I think. And this is what he said. He said when they was establishing public schools in America, he told his white school establishment personnel, he said, remember that education is only 1/4 of information, and the other 3/4 is encouragement. And nothing encourages a child like seeing someone that looks like them who accomplished great things. So right there, by design, it's meant, especially for us, to keep us in the box, because if we do ever tap into our greatness, by nature we're gods, right? So you gotta understand, it's unfair. And I've heard high ranking, somebody say this, I think it was Hollywood exec. He said, we think it's unfair for us to walk around among gods. He said that. So from that vantage point, how do we contain them? We got to keep them in the box, sit down in a way they can't tap into who they really are. And so your son, my question was, in karate or kung fu, you said, how's he
Martial
doing
arts.
that? Martial arts, how's he doing in that?
He loves it. He loves it. Like he did not know that I was sitting and watching him on his first day, and he was on it. Like he wasn't moving. He was standing straight. He was like listening. And then when he saw me, he was like, and then he performed extra because he's like, okay, now my mom is here. But before he even knew I was there, he was on it. And again, I'm trying to figure out how can I merge the two, right? Because when he's in martial arts, he's there and there's a level of expectation that he has to like meet when he's there. And so he hits it. But then when he gets to school, it's like, I'm sitting for English, I'm sitting for social studies. But then when we go to lunch, it's they gotta reel him all the way back in for the rest of the school day. And I'm just like, because he is a creative kid, like he loves to draw, he loves to create animations, he loves to like do anything that allows him to be with his hands. But with martial arts, that's the first time that I've seen him actually listen. And I was like, oh shit. Like it was, I loved it. I'm like, this is.
But you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's call this way. How many of us sit for 7.5 hours a day?
And
we don't move. So I say it never been clinically diagnosed, but I always say I have ADHD. I cannot sit at my desk for 2 hours straight and not get up and walk around or do something or move my hands or something. So me as a parent, I had to make a hard decision when it came to school. So my child kind of fell into that COVID. He started kindergarten, COVID hit. We were home. He was virtual. Going back, he had asthma. So I made the decision to homeschool him. That was when I started to acknowledge where his strengths and weaknesses were as a parent. Your reading comprehension, you read well. But when it comes to comprehending it, we need to work on that. So with that, when he got antsy, during our homeschool, let's go to Great Falls. He likes to be there near the water like his mom. Let's go to Great Falls. Or he would go downstairs and play with his fish. Or, I bought canvases and I used to go to the Dollar Tree and buy shower curtains and paint and anything. He loves STEM. I ordered science kits. So when he got to that point in the day, it was like, what do you want to do? What is it that you want to do now? I want you to go and do that for maybe an hour or so. We want to take a break and then we'll come back to this later on. And that really worked for us. So going back into public schools after that, the attention that was needed wasn't there. So as a parent, I'm fighting. Hey, my child does not comprehend well what he is reading. He needs help in these areas. We hear you, but we're not going to do anything because that's above our pay grade. Cool. And that's that without saying it, that's what was said to me. So as a mom, crying every night after he's in the bed because I don't know how to get him out of this situation. I don't know without stretching my own finances to put him in tutoring or get help here and there or trying to find people that can assist us. By the grace of God, we got the opportunity for him to move to an all-boys school. Every grade level has no more than 24 students, so it's no more than 12 students per class. His first year there, when we transferred, they were like, they test you, and he would have been going to the 5th grade. I was not leaving my child in Prince George's County schools to go into middle school and not be prepared. He was not ready. And I said that. I said, he is not ready. You're going to pass him along because that is what this education system is built to do. He's not ready. And I'm not allowing that to happen as a parent. So when we got to his school now, they called me after he said, and he took the test and he was like, Mom, that 5th grade work was a little difficult. And I was like, so, how you feel about it? And we talked about it. And it was again, by the grace of God, the admissions counselor called me. He was like, would you mind him doing 4th grade? And I said, absolutely not. The school starts at 4th grade. I said, absolutely not. He's coming from Maryland to DC, public to private. This is a whole new curriculum. If you're going to give him the opportunity, I'm all for it. Yeah. And so now what they do is they have, I think, is 2 50-minute classes recess, 2 50-minute classes, recess. So he has 2 to 3 recesses a day. His school day is a lot longer, but they engage them. They are required to take STEM. They are required to take social emotional learning. They are required to journal. Like, these things have really helped. I'm a writer. My child does not like to read. He does not like to write. He has learned so much from being able to write in a journal, his feelings and his thoughts. And, you know, it has improved. And his counselors will call me and let me know. So just those things, like, absolutely right. They're not built. We aren't built as humans to sit for 8 straight hours a day. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Black, white, yellow, purple. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I worked in the nonprofit space, for specifically in nonprofit education, and we did like a lot of research around this. We even did like a documentary that went to Sundance, but like the education system is one of the only systems that hasn't changed in a century, and it is built off an industrial model. It's built off of like a factory model. And I think me working in education gave me a very unique perspective, because I felt like there was no school that was going to give my child every single thing that he needed, because I was working at schools. I knew the charter schools. I knew you got Ron Clark in Atlanta. There was even a time where I like considered moving to Atlanta, like just for him to go to the school. But I think knowing that the education system had gaps and knowing what he needed, as a parent, you have to give your child what they needed. So, and you have to find ways, back to the way boys think, they're very like one-to-one. It has to make sense. If you tell a boy, like, if you sit still in class, you're going to get to go to football afterwards, they might do it. If you tell him, when you get finished your work, you could color, take the coloring book, it might work. Like, you have to give him a end path. Right now, he doesn't see the value, and he's still young. So he doesn't see the value in sitting here and doing nothing. Right?
Or give him that break to do something.
And even with him in the school where he is the minority, then that means his extracurricular, he need to be around the Black kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, he need to go around the way. He needs to, be, and I was very intentional about that. I did not want to trade my son's safety or what he was going to get for a better school system, right? Like, he could have went to Howard County, or he could have went to a charter school, but the trade-off wasn't worth it. Right. And I didn't want him growing up where he was surrounded by people who didn't have the cultural competence to deal with him. And so I do think that's like a big deal, but I also think children, particularly boys, my son is still, like, I just looked at his location. He's running the main streets of Baltimore. He don't watch no TV. He don't play no games. He's outside, baby. He's an outside baby. Like, even when he comes home, he's outside. Okay. So I just looked at that location. He got like 30 more minutes before I like get back to that dorm. But he's outside all the time. And so when he would come home from school, I let him be outside. Like, all that homework, that need to be wrapped up before you go. And I would tell him, like, if you do your homework at school, you ain't gonna have to be in here. You go outside.
But D, can you imagine our parents having our location when we were his age?
Well, you know what? I was totally different. My son is me now. He is not me as a child. I was totally different. I was very obedient, chill. I was a great kid. I ain't have no issues. My son is the adult version of me in like a little person's body. He wants to know why. He wants to know how. Make it make sense for him. But I had to give him that freedom. So, I think, again, even hacking, like, some parents do change their child's school or go here or go there. I just think you have to supplement. Like, you're going to always have to supplement what they need. I was very big on like wanting my child to have, just a broader worldview. I sent him to Italy by himself when he was 13. I sent him to Thailand by himself, when he was going into his junior year. I just was like, there has to be something that gives him a larger vision of what life is like, as opposed to like this kind of like structured system. But I also think when I was expecting, I remember my professor had told me, if you could get your child to stay still, that's half the battle. Like if you could get your boy to stay still, that's half the battle. So I remember it was a very quick, her name was Dr. Selassie. She's still out here, Mama Coco, like wherever you are, I love you so much. But I remember her telling me that, and she was like, what you having? And she was just very like wise beyond her years, but it stuck with me. And so when my son was little, I would make him go to church and no toys, no book, no iPad. Sit there. I would, and it's not because I wanted him to be like, fighting for his life. Like, oh my gosh, I want to go to kid church. I'm in the big church. Like, I just wanted, it stuck with me so much in a way that I don't even think I realized the value of it until later on. I worked in entertainment. I used to have my son in the green room. There was like Rick Ross, Fabulous, Khalil. Like, put him in the green room, make him stay there for 8 hours, 10 hours. Yes, like you have to learn, because they have to learn to operate in the structure that they're in. And so we do them a disadvantage if we create a false reality. And we do them a disadvantage if we create too much of like, no, you must stay there and you can't do nothing and blah, 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 blah. So there has to be, everything is kind of like a training ground when they're young. So for me, church was that. Get up, sit still, keep your clothes clean. I remember people used to laugh at me. My son was like 2, he'll be in all white. I dare you to get a gummy bear on it. Like, take care of your stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I was very hard on him in those ways of just like being how you need to be. I used to beat into his head like men are integral, respectful, honest, responsible, like over and over and over again. If I call him right now, like, what are men? And he'll like run it down. Like I used to beat it into his head, but I just think, again, creating what we value in this household and taking that out into the world. Them fidget spinners, God bless them. They really got my son through, because he'll be finished his work in 20 minutes and he'll just be sitting there. He never took naps when he was a baby. So even when he was in elementary, pre-K, they will be like, he's not taking a nap. And I'll be like, you gotta let him clean. You gotta let him like do something. And even to this day, he wake up, he don't fall asleep, he's up. And I just was very, very like, everything was an opportunity to teach something different. So I think, just finding those hacks. Is it a coloring book? Is it a book he could read? If he don't like reading, it's something he like reading, because he read them damn games.
Right.
It's something he like reading. So maybe it's comic books. I know for my son, it was like them Dog Man Chronicles. Like he like reading something.
Yeah.
It may not be what's in English, but it's something.
Yeah.
And I think validating that when he does, like, you do look like to read. You on the game all day, reading the story, reading the captions. Yeah.
And you can't tell me you don't like to read, because again, reading is going to get you through life.
But affirming that, he has to know like that is reading too. Like I was telling my son, like, just download Audible. And he was like, is that like fake reading? If you want the text and you don't want to walk around with that book, like even in college, when I'm like, just download Audible. You can listen to it on Audible and just see if you retain the information like you would physically reading it. So I think just affirming every little thing and not letting them get into that space of I can't. You can sit still. You can sit still. You sat still for the whole martial arts program. You was up there with your belt on like a brick. Okay, so you can sit still. It's just it's not making sense for him. Why?
Right. And because I'm not in the classroom to advocate for him in real time, I'm always getting another version of something, or I'm getting when he gets home, he's telling me his story, but it's like he can't remember the whole thing. And so I can't help him, process that. And so, and then on top of not having the time, right? Because like, I'm pretty sure like you guys, we get up so early. So we're up at 4:00. It's 2 hours to get down the road to work. Then we coming back. By the time we get home, like right now, he's just getting in the shower. It's 8:30 and he has to be back up at 5:00. So it's like trying to have that time for, as a mother, on top of everything else, to help him navigate through that. And I'm just like, I'm not there to advocate for him. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is not being there in real time to advocate for him so that he is heard. Because like you said, he's not in a school where he's seen, like where he sees people. And he was in a school in PG County schools, and he struggled really bad there because they were just like, oh, he's my little helper. He is so cute. Like, he's hanging with me. And I'm like, you're his teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, he shouldn't be passing paper out. He shouldn't be walking with you to the vending machine, And so I struggle with that in school. And then like now we're in our second school. And so I hate to keep like juggling him and moving him, but I'm trying to figure out what to do to help him. Like, what environments work best for him. And so that's
but those teachers were probably doing that because they knew he wasn't going to sit still.
Right.
So they was like, roll with me. So the issue wasn't them doing that. The issue was, he's not in class enough to retain. I need you to let him pass out papers after he has finished his work.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a different conversation that needed to be had. I think that goes into, our topic just around misconceptions around boys' behavior and what it really is versus what these systems try to put on our kids. Thoughts, Ab?
So as far as a misconception, right? So one common misconception is that like he doesn't feel emotions, right? Like he's not experiencing emotions. And that might be for older kids, but like that boys do. We are socialized so young, right? Like to not express that. Like there's going to be a certain point where like notice he'll try to like shut off the emotions that he used to show you, right? Like he won't show those anymore. Like they'll be there, but he'll act like they're not, right? And I think that's like a huge challenge for any parent, really. Like that's that point where they like they shut it off and nothing affects them, and they act like nothing affects them, nothing bothers them. I feel like we kind of socialize our boys to be that way, right? Like that's the norm, right? The men that they see that are looked at as cool, they don't show emotion, right? They're not outwardly emotional. They don't see them cry. None of those things happen. It's kind of like, you're supposed to be like stoic. You're supposed to be like.
And even if you don't do it as a parent, they're gonna learn it when they get in school.
For sure. Like the world socializes men to behave that way, right? So like when you got to do work as a man to like get out of that space. Like it takes real work. Like I was in therapy for like 2.5 years, like trying to figure out like, you know what I'm saying? Because you look at they tell you that like if you express yourself in a way, they're gonna use it against you. Somebody's gonna use it against you. You're gonna be looked at as weak, or you know what I'm saying? People not gonna respect you the same way, right? But I think all of that goes out the window once you have the confidence and the self-awareness. Right? Once you have the confidence and the self-awareness, it's like I don't care what you think. Like I don't care what you're talking about. Like once you know who you are, and I think you get that from the adults in your life. They give you that. That's that reassurance, that like that confidence, that push. You know what I'm saying? It's like a constant thing. Like my mother used to say things to me all the time. It's almost like she had a notepad that she was just checking off every day. It's like, you just repeat. And like when I'm in times where like I need to hear those words, I can hear them ringing off in the back of my head, right? Like you those things are like drilled into the back of your head, and like boys need that, even especially when even if you feel like they're not listening, because it's going to feel like they're not listening. Like you just brick wall.
Every day.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to feel like, but when it's time for them to like pull at that information or that nugget of wisdom, they're going to remember it, right? It's just like subconsciously drilled into them. I'll be like, damn, like I don't even want to remember that. Like, why do I remember this? You don't have a choice, right?
I think also sometimes parents tap out too early.
For sure.
So like the child will get 10 and they'll just be like, they just don't listen. And I'm like, if you think it's bad now, when they hit 15, baby, you will be in hell. Like they are still listening. You know what I mean? Like they may be listening differently. They may have a little bit more to say than they did when they were 6.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a little bit more like just frustration with like, are you understanding? Or do you know the severity? Or do you know? I think for me, every just opportunity was a pivot, right? And the pivot, when I pivoted, was based on how he was showing up. Like, okay, this is not working no more.
Yep.
This way of parenting is not working no more. We're hitting a brick wall here. So now I got to try something different, you know? And then for years I did like that, the overplay for the underplay. He would tell me something that was so egregious that as a mother, I wanted to be like, what the hell? But I didn't do that because I didn't want him to stop telling me.
Yes.
Bingo.
So I would be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And he said, what? And I had to listen to all these stupid ass kid stories all day just to get the info to guide him in a way that he didn't know he was being guided.
Right.
You know, I went from lecturer when he was very young, like do this, do that. These are the values. This is what you do. Do this. Don't do this. To like, okay, now I'm coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And now and then the teenage years is ghetto. So I said, wait till y'all get there. Let's just run this. It's very ghetto. But I had a great child that never gave me no issues. Right on up to 15, where I had to suck him in his throat. Okay. Like I didn't beat my child. It's very well documented. I documented my motherhood journey on the internet. Okay. But I didn't beat my child. I didn't do any of that. I had a very great child, and still them teenage years came rolling in, and I was like, who the hell raised you? You know, and my mama would be laughing at me like, you did that. I told you he did a spanking 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But even that was a different type of parenting. So I think, you know, a lot of times we think like, damn, it's too late. You know, they're exhibiting this, but it's never too late.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. They're going to need you forever. It's just a different type of need and the way the need manifests. And so anytime, you know, particularly as a single mother, there are times where you're going to be like, oh shit, this is the part of the movie where you go to your daddy house. And you ain't got no daddy house to go to, right? But you can't tap out. If you don't have it for nothing else, you got to have it for your child. And you just you got to cry in the shower, like mama did, regroup, and get your head back in the game. You know,
and making sure that you're not taking out your frustration on your child, which is something that I struggle with. It's like, am I going off on him right now because my boss just pissed me off? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, if I'm, you know, on working through something and he's coming in like, I don't like, and then I'll spaz on him, and I'm just like, that energy was not even for him, and so he just caught a whole thing, and then now you got to kind of like backpedal and like, you know,
forget who it was, but there was somebody way wiser than us. Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, you all Van Zandt. I don't know, it was one of them. But they were saying like kids remember how you greet them, right? And so a lot of times as moms, you know, we come in the house and we like, why you ain't got your homework done? Why you ain't take that chicken out the freezer? Why you ain't clean up? Why you ain't brush your teeth? You ain't da da da. And that's all they hear every day, as opposed to like, hey, baby, good morning. I love you. How are you feeling? How are you? You know, and we're all guilty of it. You know, we just had them days. Like there was one time my son, he was so little, and I was yelling at him because, you know, kids can't never find socks. Okay. They can't never find 2 matching socks. And it was one of the mornings we was rushing. And he was like, Mom, your heart is ashy, just like that. And I was like, the hell? But like, even at that little level, we knew like You tripping. Like
Yeah.
you're doing way
Way
too
too
much.
much.
He didn't have the
Yeah.
language. He didn't have nothing, but he was like, you're doing too much. And I think in those moments, really hearing your child and not
Yes.
dismissing it as like, we don't look at children as humans.
No.
The same way we was like, we don't look at
Yeah.
parents as human, we don't look at children as humans.
Yeah.
We look at them as something to own, something to control, something that we got to manage. You cannot. They have to learn themselves, and you can't live for them because one day you can't own their emotions, you can't own their experiences.
Nope.
Your heart is literally walking outside your body just all the time, about to be bruised
Oh.
and broken. And so you have to raise them not from a fear-based perspective, but really from a like, is this thing that I'm doing, how is that going to show up when they 30?
Mhm.
Or how is it going to show? There's so many adults I know who don't talk to their parents
Right.
right now. And it's because if your child is not talking to you,
Sure for it.
But it's
Yeah.
also understanding that the pivot is coming earlier in life nowadays too, because
they
societal
are
impact-
over.
Yeah, the societal
real
impacts
early.
are so different. Like we didn't have social media wasn't as big. Like it's and even if you don't allow your child to do it, when they go to school, it's there. They hear it, they're interested, they see it. So we have to acknowledge that the pivot is coming. You know, that change in how we address it and how we show up as parent and not letting our stresses, you know, impose on them. That pivot comes a lot earlier. Like when you just said, D, you know, it happened at 15. For me, I know it's somewhat happening now. We've been in that space for probably the last year where I have to become more self-aware and I have to help him to learn how to become more self-aware so that there are moments when both of us are coming back to the table like, you know what, I apologize for jumping the gun
early and often. You gotta apologize.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the time. You have to you just have to model it.
Yeah.
There were times I'll be like, you know what? I know I said I was going to drag you down the street like a dog, but I'm really sorry for starting your morning.
Not down the street
like that. I'm really sorry for starting your morning like that. But yeah. And put your kids in therapy. I know that as Black people, we don't want to hear this. The quicker they could unpack, cope, be self-aware. I used to tell my son, even when he was little, like, don't come putting your emotions all on the situation. You know, now you irritated, you ready to go home, and here you come in the car, we laughing and joking, and you just got an attitude. Like, control your space. You don't put that on everybody else. Like, manage your energy. I would tell him that all the time, over and over again. And the reason why I felt like that was super important for boys, because boys get to a certain level, they don't have a head. Okay, if they don't find something bigger than themselves, God, a father, or something, you can't tell them nothing. Who gonna check them? Whereas with women, we're kind of socialized to like, eventually we come under our husbands or we come under our fathers, or there will be some sort of place where we can just, somebody else will lead and we can just put this all off, right?
Soft life.
I'm still looking for that soft life. So
girl, you will create the soft life for yourself, okay? And then somebody will come and y'all will enjoy your soft life together. A whole person, not none of these. All these people are not well. They're not well, y'all. I'm serious. And to Abbas's point, right? His heart for young boys, it matters because we see grown men. The age don't matter. Young fools become old fools and they do not grow out of it. This idea that one day they will grow out of the shit that you're seeing now as a mom, it's not going to happen. Every person I've dated, if it has been bad, I blame their mama. Because you raised this raggedy mofo. You know what I'm saying? And you knew he was a liar. When he was 10. You never made him take accountability. You never made him sit in his shit. You always made excuses for it. It will show up. Like, so it is, you are doing if nobody's ever told you the world's best job of raising a little human being. And it matters. It matters because I do think that, you know, from a men versus women standpoint, a lot of times, just like in the clip where the lady was talking about, you know, educationally, boys are behind girls like by 2 years, right? I think that men, they're emotionally stunted.
Mm-hmm.
So women have been doing all of this work, baby. We self-help books, book clubs, wellness retreats, all the things. And men have been doing nothing. And then Kevin Samuels came along. It's like, nah, God wants this out. But you know what I'm saying? Like they are emotionally stunted. And I think Jason Wilson, he had like an analogy.
I love him.
Where he was saying that we're not even we don't have the same tools. Men have an 8-pack crayon box, and women got the 164-pack. So you're speaking in violet, and they just got purple,
Black.
yellow, black. They don't even know what you're talking about. You're speaking in turquoise, and they have green.
That's what Chad said though. It's black and white for them. Like
Yeah, like you're not gonna, and it's because they're socialized to do everything but emote. To protect, to provide, to stand up, to have physical, you know, aggression, to fight, to this, to that, but no emotions. So the emotional aspect of, you know, even getting into a relationship with a man who's never been asked, like, how do you feel?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
What
does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, why are you acting the way? I cannot tell you how many times I've been like, so why do you think you do that? And grown ass men will be like, just because. That's just how I am. And I'm like, no, what happened? You know, I turn into like a baby Iyanla. Like, what happened? Take me to the first time where you felt like they don't have it. So, you know, as mothers raising young boys, those are the things that, like, you got to think about. You see your child, like, he just don't take no responsibility. He don't want to do shit. He don't want to wash. He don't want to do nothing. You got to nip it in the bud right then and there.
You have to, right? And part of that is like we were saying, like these young boys, they become men with the same traits, right? Like if you don't stop it at some point, it just grows and it gets worse, and then you send them out into the world to be somebody else's problem. Right? You're preparing these young men to be leaders of their household, to be somebody's father, somebody's husband, right? Like that's what essentially you're doing. Like that's what our job is, right? We're preparing. It's not for us, right? So when we talk about like your mother as a young man, Chaz, you can chime in on this too. Like as a young man, the first your first understanding of like what your expectation should be is of your mother, right? So like I was talking about earlier, like coming in the house, the first thing is to like, right? Then you'd accept that later, like no, just like you don't want no boy wanted that from his mom. I don't want that from my lady either.
Yeah,
I don't want to be in the crib and the first thing your shoes at the door. I'm like, oh my god, hello, how you doing? How was your, like it's the same, it like transitions, but like it doesn't change, right? Like I know women always say, or I hear women say like, well, y'all want y'all mothers. And it's kind of like, yeah, kind of, right? it's like not literally, but like in a sense, just like women want their fathers, right? The way you describe the man that you want, the protector, the provider, that's your dad, right? He just transferred the responsibilities over to this guy. Yeah. Right? The same thing that your mother did, she nurtured you, she took care of you, she made sure you was good. That's the same thing you want from your partner, as a, you know what I'm saying, as a man. You want that from your lady. It's the same, like we don't really actually ever grow up, right? You just transfer responsibilities from one person to another, right? So you gotta create a safe space for your son to feel like a whole human being. Right? Like he has to feel like a whole entire human when he's around you. He can cry without you saying, stop that crying shit. Yep. Right? He can cry. Like there's you gotta let and once he get the tears out, then you have that conversation.
Yes.
right?
Right.
Let the
Then
tears,
you talk yourself through to the other side. Like,
Exactly.
how do we get, yeah.
Yeah.
then you have that
Space.
conversation, right?
But also understanding where those tears came
Are
from. Do
coming
you,
from,
you know,
yes.
what was that about? Let's talk it through. Like, what brought you to a point that it boiled you over to actually bring tears down? So
Yeah.
just understanding their emotions is a big piece too.
For sure.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just frustration. It's like I don't even know how to communicate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't,
So like the tears just gonna flow because I don't know how to
Yep.
get my thoughts out of my head
Yeah.
Yep.
in you know what I'm saying, in a way that I can communicate it effectively to
I
you.
also don't think because you didn't have something that you don't know how to do it. A lot of times people are like, single mothers can't raise men, right? And we hear this a lot. And what they're trying to say is that there has to be a balance, right? But the idea that single mother, we raise all y'all, men and women, like women raise everybody. So I don't know what you're talking about. What it takes is an understanding of what they're missing and filling that space up. It could be a football coach. Now, some of these football coaches is janky. They just trying to talk
Sure.
to the mothers. So watch
Yeah.
them. You know what I'm saying? But like, you have to have the faith that like everything your child needs, they will get. If you come with a lack, your daddy ain't here, I don't know why he ain't here, then they're going to mimic. It's like a mimicry that they take on. And I see so many parents do that. And it's just not, it doesn't serve the child at all. So for everybody watching who will watch, just be, if you ain't have a daddy, you know everything that you don't want.
Right.
Like you have some information to do this thing called life. You don't have to be everything or know everything to gain information that you need to walk your path. You know, if you didn't have a great relationship with your mother, great. You know what you don't want to, you know, emulate. So you have some information. I don't care if he was never there. If you ain't know your daddy, if you ain't like, okay, you know everything that you wanted as a child. And you know, and it's not fair. You know, it's not fair. It's not, it's not ideal, but it is life. And I think a lot of times we cripple ourselves because we stay so stuck in what is not going right instead of what is absolutely perfect. Like it doesn't matter what we don't have. It only matters what we have and what we do with it.
None of it, nobody was promised fairness.
Yeah.
Right. And it's to your point of accountability too. We can't impose that on our children if we're not taking accountability for ourselves. I tell my kids all the time, y'all my choice. We end up dwelling on anybody that's not here, that doesn't like you are my responsibility. I chose this. So we're not sitting in no depression space. Like all that is out the window. If I'm gonna teach you accountability,
You gotta see it.
I'm taking it for myself. I am responsible. So I need you to be the same way with whatever it is that comes your way that is yours. Own your shit. I tell my oldest that own your shit.
Yeah.
Did you do it? Absolutely. Are you gonna get in trouble for it? Possibly. But let's deal with the fact that you did it. Was it right? Was it wrong? And how do we learn from that to do better the next time?
Right.
And I feel like a lot of, again, women, particularly single mothers, they get a lot of heat for being the parent who stayed. Ain't nobody talk about these raggedy niggas that left. But a lot of men who are not present in their children's lives, it's a block, right? Maybe they don't feel enough of a provider, or maybe they don't have a concept of what that looks like, or maybe, a lot of men just, once they don't want to deal with the mama, then they don't want to deal with the children. Like it has to be a very intentional thing, right? And so a lot of these things that we're talking about, if your child doesn't learn coping skills early, if they don't learn responsibilities early, if they don't learn to sit in their shit, if they don't learn to be respectful, if they don't learn to be integral, they run the risk of becoming that person that when a relationship breaks down, they can't communicate. And then the child hit a certain point, they like, well, they could call me. When I see these fathers, they're like, they could call me. I be like,
and then what?
Right. Like you are the parent.
You're the adult.
You are the adult, and it's never too late for a parent to step in, but a lot of that like missing in action that we see with parents it's a lack of coping.
Yeah.
It's a lack of like understanding, a lack of emotional maturity.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know conflict resolution. They ain't got no conflict resolution skills.
We see
They
it in the
don't know.
workplace. We see
Yeah,
it
all the time.
Mm.
All the time. All the time. So, you know, I took being a mother of a boy very seriously. And even in the adverse, my brother, he has 3 girls. I get them every summer. They just left. I had them for a month. And what I realized with my nieces is I don't have any compassion. I have a lot of empathy. I have a lot of love. I have no pity or desire to like get them out of that situation. I'm such a boy mom. I'm so figure it out. And so with my nieces, you know, one of my nieces, the oldest is 12, the middle one is 10. The 10-year-old ran down. She's like, Auntie, Shalia like bit her fingernail and she spit it in the air and it hit my face and she did it on purpose. And I'm like, what did you do? And she's like, I came down here to tell you. And I'm like, no. Bite your fingernail, spit it on her face, and then come down here and tell me, like, do it back. But I think that comes from me raising a boy. Like, it is not my job to direct your way. And girls have all these emotions. They're super sensitive. And so what I realized, compassion is like pity and a desire to change the situation. I don't have that. You will figure this out. You know, and for my nieces, they probably feel like, oh my gosh, she's so harsh. I don't care. Go hit her back. And I had to teach my niece that. My middle niece, she's very sensitive, right? And, you know, she goes to school and she's like, people are bullying me. Punch them in the face. Like, I don't have, you know what I'm saying? And if you're not the person to punch somebody in the face, like, you better get real witty. Like I was coaching her on all the things to say.
Yeah.
Okay. If nothing else, your mama always works. You just throw that out there. Yep. Or it doesn't matter. Your mama. Because they have to learn to advocate for themselves. This idea that you're just going to sit and let people handle you any type of way and do something, it's not going to work. So even we want to protect that like sacredness of just how you are. And you need to learn to be assertive. You don't have to be abrasive, but you need to learn to assert yourself. Mm-hmm. And you need to learn to advocate. You know, a lot of times I see parents like they always talk to the teacher for the children. The child never talks to the teacher. And I'm like, they have to talk to them because they're never going to learn to talk to adults. If they can't talk to you and they can't talk to their teacher, they're never going to learn to like advocate for themselves with adults. And then you'll have people just do anything. So, you know, I think even those little lessons are like, my niece, she called me today. She like, this little girl, she pushed me and I pushed her back. And then I told the teacher, I said, that's right, girl. Push her back. Because the teacher not going to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't look for somebody else to solve that. Push her back and then go tell the teacher what she did. So, you know, yeah.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, right? Like, speaking to adults, like, I always had, and I think it came from, like, my mother was, my whole family in general, like, that stay in a child's place thing was, like, real. It was, like, it was serious. And I think we need
for
some
all
of that.
Millennials.
I think we need some of that to come back because these kids, they don't have a place. We on the same social media websites. Like, there's no child's place anymore. But, so like they were so serious about the staying in child's place. I was scared to speak to adults. You know what I mean? I didn't express no grievances to the elders in my family, to my teachers. So like any adult that was like around that would give me, you know, some type of remark or something, I would just take it. Like I don't have nothing to say. I don't even know where to start. Like I was scared to speak up against adults, right? And that's something that I think it's really important, you know, that you got to instill in, especially the boys, early as possible, like doing it without disrespect. Like yourself without like the disrespect, you know, because sometimes they don't know, they go too far. It's kind of like, bro, you could have did that. You need a little finesse here too. Like, just throw it all the way out. we cutting low on time, so I'm gonna do this, right? Chaz, I want you to think about some things that your mother did really well with y'all, right? I'll give something, and then ladies, you can give your closing remarks, and then I'll give you guys your mic back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what she did really well, and I think that really helped me, was instilling God and faith with me, right? So she was very intentional with, instilling God with me, but also showing that God is real, right? So when her being so selfless, right? I got to see. So I saw, I didn't have my father, but I saw that she really tried. She really tried, right? And then on top of that, I saw her sacrifice to the point to where, like, she was a part of the Million Man March, helping that happen. Wow. So I'm looking at it as a child, seeing that, damn, she's doing something that's bigger than herself. And so me seeing that helped me become the man I am, because now I'm understanding that whole time that's my purpose. My purpose in life as a man is to be selfless and walk in my purpose, but my purpose is always bigger than myself. So that kind of helped me navigate how I move now. And that right there was very key. And I work with youth now, a lot of it is missing is that faith aspect. Because, as men, we hold everything in, and we may not have a therapist, but one person we can talk to, was God, right? And over time, he validated the discussions we would have, and he showed me, damn, he is real. So if we could get that part back with especially our young boys, because as when we become men, that's who we have to answer to if we do it right. The good men in your life usually is answering to a higher calling, right? And then it filters down from there. So we have to, because they took it from the schools, and it's for a reason. Because again, they know that's what we look up to, and that's who we answer to in order for us to move how we need to move. So that was one of the best things that I think she instilled in me, and was steadfast. I remember posters on my wall of, kings and I used to have to do a speech and poems that was in my room that, that you're a God, black man, this, that. And that was a mantra that every day I woke up, I had to read and recite, and to the point to where I have so much confidence in myself because I know who I am. And our young boys don't know who we are. Like the scripture said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. And that's what is missing, the knowledge piece of who we are. We have to know ourselves first. And she did that for me. And I think that was key.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Salute to that, man. That's what's up. And I can piggyback off what you said, right? Like my mom was super committed to her faith and her spirituality. She let it be known. She was open about it. She preached it to us still to this day, right? But outside of that, right, it was two things. For one, I never saw or heard my mother speak negatively about anybody, period. Like not even not my father. Anytime my father was brought up, it was something positive, or it was like, you know what I'm saying? She was one of the people that was like, you need to reach out to him. Y'all need to speak. You need to have blah, blah, blah. Even when I was like those years, I was like, I ain't got nothing to talk about. She was the person that was like, you need to speak to him. You know what I mean? You need to speak to him, blah, blah, blah. So I watched her not hold a grudge, right? Like I watched her not hold a grudge. I watched her figure it out, right? Yeah. Because when I was young, my father was the head of the household. Like he made the decisions. My mom supported his decisions, and they went like that. So when they broke up, I saw her step into a new role, and it was kind of like, okay, sister girl, I see you. It was kind of like I was proud of her. You know what I'm saying? Being as young as I was proud of her for that.
Proud, yep. Yeah,
I was super proud of her watching her because like it was even people in my family, not to get too personal, but that was like, you need to forgive him, and you need to whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I still don't know the whole story. But forgive him. Some of them was even telling him you need to go back. You need to go to Africa with him and take the boys. And she was like, nah, I'm not. So she just figured it out. They was like, you going, I she even told me a story where, you know, somebody close to the family was like, your boys are going to fail if you don't, you know, get back with your, you know, I'm like, you know, and she just took all of that and it kind of like pushed her and helped motivate her. And then the last thing is the integrity. All right. This lady never stole from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
She never took anything that wasn't hers. She never disrespected people that didn't, you know what I'm saying? People in general, right? Like I watched her hold herself to a very high level of esteem, you know, almost to the point where it's like, okay, that's the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yep.
Right. Like I internalized that, like, okay, that's the standard. Like she never, like even in situations where most people would have flipped out, right?
Yep.
Like she always was composed. Well, at least to me, it looked like that, right?
Yep.
So I think I kind of internalized that, and I'm always like in control of myself.
Yeah.
I don't get too far out of my box.
I mean, that's what. So, like what you said, that you was proud, and I think that's you know, especially for the single moms dealing with boys. If they see you and are proud of what they see, like again, you spoke about, you know, bringing her son in the green room and just watching her move and be a boss in her own right. He's proud of that, right? Because you know, again, by nature, that's what we are. We want to be a boss. We conquer force and power. And to see your mom do that and move in rooms, but not compromise herself, not be a hypocrite, something to be proud of. Now we have a certain different respect. So now we're gonna grow up as solid, a good human being, because we now understand that although you're doing it by yourself, and I know it's hard because it's gonna take maturity to see that for us, but I know it's hard. Damn, my mom never compromised who she was.
Yeah.
So the least I can do is repay and keep that going as a man, you know. So yeah.
And I'll piggyback off of what Ab said to close out. You know, just what you invite is what you feed. So not allowing that negative impact on your kids, like, and I also believe in letting them see that you're human. No, they don't have to go through every little situation with you, but if one day their behavior is overwhelming you, you know, it might boil up, but then getting to that point and helping them to understand. And I do it with my oldest, you know, like mommy had a rough day and that's not your issue. However, your behavior is your issue. And I need you to figure out how you can, how we can work together to kind of make home our peace, because we got enough stresses coming from our different places of where we go throughout the day. So, you know, same way I don't, my kids have never heard anything bad about their dads. You know, it's not even my youngest. I mean, he's little, but still, I just don't have that desire to build the image for them, because as they grow older and as they're in different spaces and as they see the men that are in their lives, they will be able to build that image for themselves, and they will be able to grow into their personalities and have an understanding. And therapy is a real thing. I had to go through therapy to understand my parents' struggle. So I don't, you know, it's not passing generational curses, but getting them to continue therapy and understand, like, damn, this might have been what my mom went through, or maybe my dad wasn't here because he wasn't accountable for himself. So, you know, just again, try not to invite the negativity in and not feed it, because then it'll just keep coming back, and then you get in this repeated cycle of negative thinking, feeling, or whatever the case may be. So that's big for me.
Beautiful.
Final thoughts, Jess?
The biggest thing that I do for my son is allow him to be and express and say what he wants in the house. And I think that's where me and my mom bump heads at, because my mother's like, no. And I'm like, yes, you know, I need him to be able to tell me how he's feeling, why he's feeling that. If I upset him, you know, my actions, if I'm, you know, doing something that he doesn't like, or that he's like, that doesn't sit right with me, I feel uncomfortable, mommy. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about why that makes you feel uncomfortable. And so I do allow him to have that floor to have that conversation, and that doesn't sit right with the older people in my family. But and then the other thing is just hard work. When in third grade, you know how they do like that all about me thing. Like I still have it. He wrote, like, it said, what does your mom do? It said overtime. Because it's like, if I don't do nothing else, I'm gonna work. And so that's what I try to tell him. I'm like, everything that we have, everything that you want for yourself, you have to work for it. Like, it's not, nobody is going to give it to you. You're not just going to get it. And so now we're in that stage of chores. And so he's just so pressed to do chores now. He's just like, I took the trash out, you know, I fed the cat. Like, okay, so
It's such a good sweet spot.
yes, it's like it's right. He wants it now. And so I'm like, we were working at 14. Like, we were at KFC, like we were working at 14. So I'm like, the fact that these kids don't want to work right now, and I'm just like, we had 2 jobs at 15. Like, we was in high school hooking our friends up at our part-time job after school. So it's like, I'm trying to make sure that he understands the concept of work, because unfortunately we have to do that. Like, you have to put the work in to get everything that you want. And so those are the 2 things that I'm trying to, that I really cultivate, is like him having the floor, being able to express himself, and then also knowing that you have to work for everything that you want. Nothing is going to get handed to you. Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you all. Thank you for joining us tonight. For all the people that will view this stream, this was Man in the Middle. Today we talked about how just understanding how boys think. I think the biggest takeaway is boys are not girls. They are wired very differently. As parents, we have to allow the children to lead, and we have to follow and parent and pivot. And I think that, you know, I'm just very grateful for y'all sharing y'all stories, Ab for creating the space, Chaz for just being that other male voice. I think this was super productive. And thank y'all. Clap it up. That's a wrap, folks.
I appreciate that, man. Episode 1, Man in the Middle. Until next time, guys. Thank y'all very much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.